is September, which means it is Hydrocephalus Awareness Month. So I wanted to give y'all an insight of what hydrocephalus is, how it affects people, who it affects, the medical cost each year a person has hydrocephalus surgery, the treatment the only treatment option, I should say. So, and just mainly how it affected my life. So, let's get into this. Hydrocephalus is water on the brain. The only treatment is brain surgery, and they've tried to do other treatment options over the decade and whatever to try to cure hydrocephalus, but nothing works. Only thing that works is brain surgery, which they insert a tube in your head. I will show you that right now. So that is what a shunt looks like, and also my pendant right here, this part right here, the white part, that's the tubing basically that goes in your neck down into either your heart, your lung, or your stomach. There are different how do you say, shunt types, several different shunts that they put in you. They can just put a magnetic one, a programmable one, I should say. Places they put the shunts regularly is they put it in the heart, they put it in the lung, and then they put it in the stomach. The abbreviation for the one that they put in the stomach, which I have, is VP. The heart one, I believe, is VA. Hydrocephalus surgery, which is the shunt placement surgery, it costs over $2 billion a year. Another fact about hydrocephalus is that when you get constipated, with hydrocephalus you get constipated a lot. And when you get constipated, it can ultimately block the tubing. It mostly happens when you have a VP shunt, which is the one they put in the stomach. When they put it in the heart and the lung, you don't really have blockages like that. So when you get constipated, it puts pressure at the end of the tube and it blocks it and it stops it from working. And that's ultimately what happened with me and majority of my shunts. That's the main reason why they stopped working and why I had to have so many shunts over these past couple of years. So it's been a journey. Every hydrocephalus warrior is awesome. And with hydrocephalus, a lot of people experience headaches, they experience motion sickness, they experience migraines, which is pretty much the same thing as headaches in a way. For me, I still experience a lot of headaches. I experience migraines sometimes too. It just depends. For me, I have to limit the caffeine I drink, because if I drink more than 2 in one day, I get a severely bad headache, and it's there, and the pain is just so hard that it makes you want to cry. And I know that sucks. It seems kind of scary in a way, but for the person experiencing it, it's worse, way worse than, for me, it was way worse than, I would say, recovering from surgery, just because of the pain throbbing pain. So it really does suck in a way. Another fact about hydrocephalus is people with it can get dangerous shunt infections, and if it's not dealt with right away, the person could ultimately die. So it is very crucial in that way. You have to act fast, and if not, then there's consequences. Besides, it could affect the person's memory greatly. It could ultimately end in death. It could affect, their body in a way, to where, after they have surgery and whatnot, it could affect them to where, they can't use one side of their body fully, and it's just really scary to have a shunt infection. I've only had one, and I don't remember any of getting sick. I just remember waking up in the hospital and not knowing where I was, which ultimately scared me. So I guess stereotypes for me growing up with hydrocephalus was, I always got told, oh, well, you don't look sick. Oh, you don't look like you have a chronic illness. Just because you don't see that person's illness doesn't mean they don't have one. A lot of people didn't know I had hydrocephalus until I graduated and I started having all these brain surgeries. And I reconnected with a bunch of, the teachers, principals, my classmates. None of them really knew that I had this, not disease, but disorder. So they didn't know that I lived with this every day. They didn't, growing up in high school, I wasn't able to play sports. I wasn't able to play baseball, volleyball, basketball, because it was a danger to me, because if I got hit in the head, it could ultimately break my shunt or stop it from working, which sucked. So, it's just because a person doesn't look sick doesn't mean they aren't. Hydrocephalus. I was born with hydrocephalus. They discovered it right away. Well, I wouldn't say right away. I think it was about 6 months old that they discovered it. Because my brain was bleeding and I was hemorrhaging on both sides of my brain, which ultimately caused the hydrocephalus. I've had over 12 brain surgeries, so it's been a long journey with hydrocephalus. That surgery that the shunt that they placed at birth lasted me 12 years till I got to 6th grade. And when one day I just got very violently sick at school, and the nurses and the teachers noticed, so they made my mom alert, and I was getting sick at home. And so we went to the doctor, they did an MRI. My shunt was broken in 6 places in my body and in my neck. So they had to go and remove all of that and place a new shunt. The next time I had a shunt was my freshman year, because a piece of it broke and it was sticking out of my neck, so they had to go and fix that, which was not fun, because I remember freaking out in school and telling my teacher, oh my gosh, my shunt just broke, and none of my teachers knew the protocol on what to do with me, so she was freaking out. So that was a weird journey. The next time I had a shunt was after I graduated in 2013. My shunt just wasn't working, which might have been constipation, because I get constipated a lot and it can block the shunt. So yeah, that's when I had another surgery, and then I'm trying to remember, a couple years later, or not a couple, like I think a year later, I had to have another one because it was blocked again, and they couldn't figure out why, so they just removed it and did it again. And then I'm trying to remember all of them, and I can't remember all of them at the top of my head just because my memory has been affected greatly from it. The last one that I can really fully remember was my shunt infection. That was 2 years ago. They had just placed a new shunt in, and I got a shunt infection like right after they placed it in, like maybe a week or two after they placed it in. And they thought I had meningitis, and so I don't really know what the diagnosis was. So from what my mom told me, it might have been meningitis that I had, and so it affected my shunt. And I started getting violently sick. I started urinating and etc. on myself, and it just is. But I don't remember any of that part. I just remember waking up in the hospital, them telling me not to move because my head was kind of open, and they didn't have a shunt in me at the time, so they were letting all the infected fluid and all that go out. So I was shuntless for a little bit, and the next day they brushed me into the OR where they did the surgery, and then they had to take it out like a few hours later because it just wasn't working, so they did it again. I ultimately had like 4 or 5 surgeries in those 2 weeks that I was there recovering, and so it was a long, hard 2 weeks. What a lot of people don't know is, when you recover from brain surgery, they ultimately cut part of your hair off. In some cases, they cut all of it off. And I told them, well, when I got the brain surgery, they only cut part of my hair off. And then when I was fully conscious and was able to walk around and whatnot, I told them, just shave it all off. I don't want to deal with that. And so that's that part. And after I recovered, I went home, and then about a year later, I had my 12th brain surgery, which was in March. I told the doctor ultimately, hey, if you have to cut majority of my hair off on just that side, just chop it off. I don't want to look crazy and have that weird hairstyle. So they ultimately went and chopped it off. Luckily, the shunt is working and it's functioning, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm praying and hoping it'll last another 12 years, like the one I had in 6th grade did. But we will see. Because ultimately, I don't want to cut off my hair. It's finally growing back. It's long. So I'm just really happy that the shunt's working. 2 celebrities that I know of that have hydrocephalus are the late Reverend Billy Graham. He was born with it. He has a VP shunt like I do. And another person that got it later on in life as a result of an accident was Gabrielle Gifford. She was the congresswoman that got shot in the head. She got hydrocephalus as a result of the brain trauma that she received, and so she also has a VP shunt like